Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Seth's Car Segment. Today, we're going to be taking a look at this, which is a 2017 Mercedes-Benz CLS550. Now the CLS is what was known to Mercedes as a four-door coupe, due to obviously the fact that it has four doors, but also more coupe-like body lines, which are a bit different than what you would find on a sedan in their lineup like the E, C, or S class. The CLS was introduced back in 2006 as a standalone model built on the E-Class platform. Eventually, it grew to become its own little segment in the Mercedes lineup, with the CLA coming out in 2014 or so as basically a smaller CLS. Taking a closer look at some of the details on the CLS, we have quite rigid body lines, which convey a bit of a more muscly look. If we'll just start up front, you've got, excuse the dirt, but you've got these LED headlights. These are known as like Mercedes-Benz intelligent lighting system. It's also a multi-beam LED, as it says right there. But these little, I guess you could call them pods in the lights, I guess, actually turn with the wheels. So when your headlights are on and your wheels are turned, so too are the headlights, to make it easier to corner at night. Obviously leading the way is Mercedes 3-point star logo, with one right here and then one right here. A little bit of a weird look, but altogether it looks really nice. This particular car has the light up star, which in daylight you're just not going to be able to see, but at night the outside as well as these parts right here, these little clear parts, will light up again with the headlights. And then around on all four corners we've got these, which are Mercedes 19-inch multi-spoke AMG wheels. These are currently wrapped in a Bridgestone Potenza all-season tire, but in general, I believe they put Continentals on these cars new. Behind there, we see our drilled rotors, which I'm sure are expensive to replace, and your Mercedes-branded brake calipers. Moving along the side, we have their pickle fork design mirrors with the pickle fork looking indicator. These fold when the car is locked, as it is right now. Moving along the sides, again, we see more of their sculpted body lines, which kind of don't show on a super cloudy day. Well, kind of cloudy day, in this gray color especially. Moving around back, we see the CLS's taillights, which have always been a bit of a more swoopy design, as it follows this body line all the way back to this point where it comes to a bit of a terminus right where the trunk starts. This particular car is 4MATIC, which is just Mercedes-Benz all-wheel drive system. It's a great system, competes with Audi Quattro or BMW's xDrive. As I said, this is a CLS 550. We'll get more into what that means later, but in essence, it means it has the V8, but not quite the full AMG V8. I'll get into models later. Now let's go ahead and step into the CLS. First of all, you've obviously got Mercedes' pretty normal key design with the chrome on the sides, as well as your lock, unlock, trunk release, and panic buttons. But you've also got a smart key access system, which works as following. You put your hand behind the door handle with the key, then it'll unlock. It's not doing that right now. And then with the doors unlocked, if you push this little depressed portion, the doors will lock. So now, if we unlock, we'll note the mirrors will eventually unfold. But you open the doors, which in typical Mercedes coupe fashion have no frames around it. It's just glass, which means the glass has to pop down, as you'll see here. It's a little hard to open. You have to pull a little bit harder, but that glass will pop down and allow you to open the doors without damaging any of this chrome trim on the sides. If we just take a look at our door panel real quick, we have obviously lock, unlock buttons, your seat controls, your memory options for your seats, obviously rear window lock, window switches, mirror controls, and tucked in there, your trunk release button. Now, let's go ahead and step inside. And you're greeted with a relatively traditional 3-pod gauge cluster design with your fuel gauge, engine temperature, speedometer, and multifunction screen, as well as your tachometer. Now, with our foot on the brake, let's go ahead and push the engine stop start button and start the 4.7 liter bi-turbo V8 up. once the car stops beeping at you, as Mercedes always do, we'll take a closer look at the gauge cluster, which again, your multifunction screen, which with the steering wheel mounted buttons, you can toggle through various menus like your speedometer, fuel mileage, trip computer, an eco display, which tells you how much acceleration, coasting, and braking you've done, your fuel mileage, and the mileage on the car itself, which this car only has 35,000 miles, which for its age is almost pretty much nothing. You've got more options you can scroll through, again, using the buttons, but in general, the gauge cluster itself is pretty well laid out. Obviously, along the sides, we've got turn signal stalks, which wiper controls as well, your cruise control stalk, if we can get the steering wheel out of the way, your power adjustment for your steering column, and then on this side we've got your gear selector, which is this column mounted solution Mercedes has used for 20 years now. Down here, obviously, we've got headlight controls, parking brake release, which the parking brake is mounted down here. You push that with your foot. Taking a look at your center console situation, we've got the screen, which is controlled using this dial down here. This is your back button, favorites button. This just turns the screen off, and this is a custom preset button, I believe. But again, moving back up, you've got this nice little analog clock, and some more of your radio controls. These are preset buttons, which will send you to your radio screen, your media screen, your navigation, telephone. This is your mute button. This is for more of your car controls. This is your hang up and call buttons. You've got your volume switch here, on off button, skip track selection, CD player eject buttons, your keypad here, which is also used to set FM AM radio presets. Moving down, you've got these aluminum buttons, which add a nice contrast to the whole black plastic situation. You've got heated seats, cooled seats, which you can have on at the same time for whatever reason. Mercedes has always done that. You've got your rear window shade, which, if we look in the rear view mirror, or just back there, if we push that, the shade will slowly but surely make its way up. You've obviously got your hazard light switch, your eco button, which will turn on and off your auto stop start, more heated and cooled seat controls. And then you've got your air conditioning, which includes this max cool button, which is really nice on hot days like today. Moving back over to this area of the center console, you've got this button, which is your sport, manual, and eco buttons, which if you hit that button, you'll note the E, S, and M in your gauge cluster. Over on this side, we've got our sport and comfort settings for your suspension and the air ride raise option, which will just raise the car up and make it look a bit like an off-roader. Now, let's go ahead and take a look in the back of the CLS, which, despite many people's conceptions, isn't really that small. On the door panel, it's relatively basic because you're just a backseat passenger in a car that's meant to be driven, so you've just got a window switch and some door cubbies. But then, you know what, we'll step in. And behind my own seating position, I'm about 6 feet tall. I've still got some knee room. The headroom leaves a little bit to be desired, but that's what you get for having that cool swoopy body style. Back here, you've also got air vents. You've got 12-volt cigarette style outlet, an ashtray, what looks like 2 cup holders, but really it's 1 big cup holder. And you've got this kind of deep bin. I don't know, it's kind of weirdly shaped. You've also got, if we can tort ourselves a little bit, this handle, which pulls down this armrest. You've got a lot of armrests and stuff back here, which you can open up. And then in here, you've got perhaps the most elaborate German cup holders, yet they probably won't break. I say probably. In general, though, if we just take a look at the other side, you'll note not a ton of headroom here. These don't go down, so if that's a visibility problem, you just have to deal with it. But again, in general, not a ton of space, but for a car that looks like this, it's not too bad at all. Now lastly, let's go ahead and take a look in the trunk, which, mind the mess, but we'll note it goes back quite a ways. It's kind of hard to see, but there's plenty of space for really whatever it is you need, whether it's bags for a weekend trip. We'll just get that out of the way. Along the side here, you've got this little twist, which will reveal a first aid kit. And then along here, you've got, obviously this is being used for storage, but this is what's called Mercedes Comfort Box. I don't know why it was called that. It was a $600 option though. And then you put it up, just like that. Goes quite fast. But you've also got seat poles, which will fold your rear seats down and give you a little bit more space if you need to bring like skis or fishing poles, just those extra long items. But in general, for a car that looks like this, it's not too bad. So that's gonna do it for today's episode of Seth's car segment. I think I've pretty adequately provided facts to prove that this car, the CLS, is unfortunately a thing of the past, but for its time, it was a wonderful car. It's a shame cars like this aren't made anymore, especially with engines like that 4.7 liter bi-turbo V8, which I demonstrated sounds absolutely lovely. Hopefully, maybe as demand permits, maybe we'll see more cars like this in the future, but for the time being, it seems like we're in the age of the naturally aspirated or turbocharged 4-cylinder. And well, because of cars like this, that's just a bit of a shame. So again, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I know I did. And I'll see you all in the next one.